Hey everyone, this is Fran from the 5-Minute Modeler, and today we're going to finish up the scene in South Grand Rapids that we started last week. Here are some of the before pictures just to remind you of what we started with. We did get a great start with the backdrop and some of the ground cover, but there were still some issues in my mind. But I appreciate everyone's comments, especially on the background. It's always great to hear, and I read and respond to every comment that you guys post. After letting the paint and the glue dry, I took another look at the scene. While it looked good in the video and the photos, I felt there was still more I could do. So here are the items that we're going to do today to finish the scene. We're going to touch up the backdrop. We're going to blend the road with the backdrop of the picture. We're going to redo the road crossings. We're going to tone it down with the airbrush. And we'll do another quick vacuuming to pick up any loose debris, and then we're going to add some details. Background was a bit dark in spots, a little too light in others. Additionally, I want to do a better job of blending that picture in. So I started with that by using the hooker green and burnt umber colors to create that darker green. So when I mixed these, I mixed them a little differently, so it's a little bit different shade, which now gives us, multiple shades of the color. And I dabbed it on just like I did before, the old Bob Ross method. So just kind of jabbing away at it. I wanted to add some further depth on the trees, and I also wanted to lighten them up. So I used some yellow, and I dipped that into the brush into the yellow paint, and then I brushed most of the paint off, similar to dry brushing, and then just tapped it in different spots. And I think it's created a nice effect, and I think it added a little bit more depth and detail. Next, I needed to blend the road color in the picture with the foreground to provide a more realistic merge between the two. I started by using my colored chalks, pastels, choosing a brown color that I thought might match. If this didn't work, I could resort to painting the road, although I didn't want to paint the entire road brown, as I didn't think that really is the true color, at least from when I've looked on Google Images and so forth. It just, that particular picture looks like it had a little brownish tint, maybe from the printing or from the shadows of the trees along the road. I'm not sure why, but it did look brown. So I have an old brush that I've cut the bristles down, and I use that to scrub in the brown chalk. I started by applying the dark chalk color close to the backdrop first, then pulled the colors forward with the brush. The goal is to fade the brown into the gray so there's a gentle transition. Interestingly, I've had these chalks for about 35 years. I remember buying them for about $1 at the local drugstore. Next comes the road crossings. For the front two, I dug out the plaster inside the rails as well as a thin strip on the outside of the rail. I removed the debris and then added several washes of gray paint to cover the bare white plaster. For the two back crossings, I used tape to form a line outside of the rails to create about 1/8 of an inch space. I then painted each crossing area with the burnt umber paint, and once that paint dried, I carefully removed the tape so as not to remove any of the gray paint of the road. This gave me a nice clean edge. For the front two crossings, I pre-painted the Osborne crossing pieces with the same burnt umber paint that I used for the back two. I used Dylene's glue to secure each of these pieces to the crossing. I used a set of wheels to make sure that the crossings didn't interfere. In the last video, I mentioned that I was going to airbrush the ground cover to help blend the various colors and textures. I'm a novice when it comes to using my airbrush, apparently, as it took me quite a bit of time to get the airbrush to spray properly. Let me just say that a clean airbrush is an effective tool. If you don't clean it well, it's likely going to cause problems down the road. At any rate, I wanted to use a dark olive color to kind of blend the ground cover together. So I started with my hooker green color. I used a little burnt umber and red, of all things, to create the appropriate color for olive. I didn't know what color olive was, so I looked it up on the internet. And it said to use blue and yellow to create green and then add red to get the olive color. Since I already had the green, adding the red was easy. These are acrylic tube paints, so they need to be mixed, then thinned down quite a bit in order to flow properly. I used about 20 pounds of pressure on my compressor. I could see I was getting close to the end. Well, you can always continue to add detail. For now, I was satisfied with the scene, enough to say that it was about done. I vacuumed up any loose material, cleaned the rails with the Bright Boy, then began to add the details back, such as power and light poles, crossing signals, and vehicles. In the end, I really like how it turned out. I hope you did too, and I hope it gives you some ideas or inspiration for your model railroad. Once again, thanks for watching 5 Minute Modeler. Take care and have a great week.